Hey, welcome guys. Thanks for joining me again today. So this is going to be our third video, and today we're going to start with some breath work. We're going to jump into a little bit of demonstration and explanation about the structure of the throat and kind of how it works internally. So before we jump into it, let's go ahead and get that subscribe in. So after the video, if it helps you, feel free to share it, like it if you like it as well. I'm going to post my social medias, so remember to follow me on those platforms if you're on there as well, but also be sure to subscribe once again down below. So with that, we're going to jump right into today's video. So for today's video, we're going to work on some more breath work in the beginning, but the primary focus of our video today is going to be focusing on the structures inside the throat and kind of how they articulate. We're going to do this by talking about it and with some demonstrations, but also there's a video that I watched by Sam Johnson. He's a voice instructor on YouTube as well, and I've been following his page for probably a year and a half, and he does a lot of really good work there. He explains things very well. I like the way that he communicates, you know, how the voice feels maybe within the body and kind of how it comes out. I just think he does a great job explaining everything. I think it makes sense and it makes singing more accessible. At least for someone experienced in voice. If you're not, I don't know, check out his page. Tell me what you think. But also, if you have any ideas, again, leave those below. Any suggestions, leave those below. Also, talk about what you would like to work on if you're here working on your voice and maybe you don't want to go get a voice instructor. Can't afford to. I know I couldn't for a long while, or maybe you're just embarrassed or a little shy. First, work on getting rid of that. Start playing with it, sing in places where you might feel uncomfortable, and try to get out of that, because that mindset also can hold back your voice no matter what it can do if you don't believe in that. Believe that you can do it. So if you want to sing, first have to believe that you can sing, and then just do it. You're gonna mess up. There are gonna be some off pitches, but you're here to learn and practice, and with that you can get better. Let's go ahead and jump right into that breath work today. So today we're not gonna work on sustaining any holds except for the exhale today, because when you're actually singing, you're not going to have a lot of time to breathe in usually. So you have to make sure you're breathing quickly and efficiently, and usually it's going to be done through the nose. Occasionally it comes through the mouth, but ideally you want it through the nose, through the mouth, through the nose, through the mouth, and that's going to be the cycle. So today we're just going to do a quick breath in and then out, and see how long of an exhale you can get for as short of an inhale as you can take. Now, remember, when we breathe, don't inhale sharply and raise your chest and move all this. Let it expand down here. So quick. And then out. Another tip is that when you're breathing, you usually have more air in your lungs. You're never depleting the entire reserve of air in your lungs. So don't be afraid to push a little extra. You will not deplete your sources. So we're going to go again, and we're going to breathe in through our nose. All right, so now we have that part going. If you notice on the last one, it was more of a, because that's more how you sing. Most people don't sing unless you're singing a U or an oo or something like that. So we don't really need that huge, sharp exhale. That's kind of exaggerated to get your body going, to get yourself feeling the breath. So now just take a sharp inhale. And you're just breathing it, let it come out easily. You don't want to force it out here. Try again. So that was a mouth breath. Try to do through your nose. Very good. So now we talked about this last time, using the vocal cords to get a pause in the flow of air. That's going to become very handy as you start singing. So let's try that a couple times, and then we'll get into some vocal warm-ups and not just breathing. All right, so here we go. Into the nose. So again, you're trying not to breathe in when you pause. Just close the vocal cords so it cuts off the air. I'll lean into the mic so you can hear it. Again, trying not to breathe in on those, just pausing it and letting it go, pausing it and letting it go. So now a little bit more jargon for you. Let's work with staccato breath. It means very sharp and pointed. So that would sound like. So on that one, it's like hut, 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 or tut, 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 whichever sound you want to make. Now I'm doing that by a combination of pulsing my diaphragm. Try to get away from pulsing your abs too much, so that tends to draw in like too much strain, and you don't want too much pressure. And that's going to be right here. It has to be a little bit here, but you really want to feel this working. So the coordination comes in with the push when my vocal cords open, and the relax when my vocal cords close, so I don't push air against the vocal cords as I'm trying to hold it. Again, we don't want to create pressure. We don't want too much strain. All right, so here we go. On the last few, I held the close, so you could see that I'm really not breathing in. I'm not going, because that's hyperventilating, and we don't want hyperventilating. We want nice, even breath. All right, guys, so good job with that so far. So now let's move into some vocal warm-ups. Today, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to hum and then go into our vowels, but we're also going to be modulating pitch with each vowel. We can either go up or down. So right now, we're just going to go up, okay? So here we go. Go ma e So our short vowels. So we're going to go again through our short vowels, hum, and then release. So ma e All right, and then now let's go through our long vowels. So A, E, I, O, U. E, I, O, U. And again. A, E, I, O, U. All right. And now let's do a descending pattern. And we'll do it once on our short vowels and then once on our long vowels. We're not adding any more vowels today. We're just going to work with what we have. We'll talk about different vowels as they come up from here on out through either exercises or maybe excerpts of songs that we want to work on. So, descending patterns starting with our short vowels. So, ooh, e, We're gonna do that one more time. I didn't really like the last one. So try again, and I had to remember, doing the vowels backwards can be a bit tough. I usually go forward from low front up to high to back. So now we're going to reverse. We're going to go back to front, then low vowels. And that's all about the positioning in the mouth, about where the tongue is placed in the mouth. And these are all really small movements, at least they should be. All right, so here we go again, starting from the top, and we're going to work our way down, moving from the back to the front, then down in our mouth. All right, so here we go. And wrong direction. And that one sounded much better. If you have a higher voice, you can go ahead and work up there. So, that's right around a break in my voice. And the breaks in your voice are just areas where you shift from different registers. Men have different breaks in their voice, typically around the same, although there's always variance. And same with women, it tends to be around the same. Sam Johnson talks about that more in his videos. He's a great source on that. So again, go check out his videos. He's a wonderful guy, at least on video and speaking. I've never met him, but I really love his videos. So again, check out Sam Johnson and learn more about your voice. So now we're going to do the same thing going up with our long vowels. So A, E, I, O, U. So A, E, I, O, U. And one more time. A, E, I, O, U. I like the second one much, much better. All right, and now we're going to do descending patterns, okay? But again, we're going to start up a little bit higher than usual. By the way, you hear me clearing my voice. Bad habit that I've developed over the years. I've gotten better at it, but if you can and you want to be a singer, or you just want to sing and have your voice last and you want lots of longevity out of it, try to break that habit as much as you can. The best thing to do is get a drink of water or something that's nearby that you have, water, tea, something like that. And then if you don't have that, you can just swallow. That action of swallowing will help reset all the stuff in here, clear up any phlegm or extra saliva that may be collecting. But the best thing to do is try not to clear your voice too much, because that extra is just extra friction and wear and tear on your voice that you don't want. It's not going to be very productive. So again, we're going to do our descending patterns up high, starting with our short vowels, and then we're going to go into our long vowels, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the structure in the throat, and I'll give a couple demonstrations about how those structures will affect the sound that you want to make. So starting with our oohs up high. So ooh. Let's try a little bit higher. Ooh, and then with our long vowels. So I, A, E, I, O, U. Wait a minute. Let's do those again. I've never done these backwards. Let's try again. So U, O, I, E, A. I want to do this one more time. I've never gone backwards. A, E, I, O, U. So here we go. U, O, I, E, A. Alrighty. Great work on that, guys. Also, I want to point out, if you ever need to pause the video and you want to practice a little bit before you move on, feel free to pause it. Definitely do that. I neglected to mention that at the top of the video, but be sure to pause it. Be sure to pause it if you need to. Don't feel like the need to continue. All right, so we've gotten through our breath work, we've gotten through our warm-up, and we did our middle register, our lower register, and we also worked in our higher register today. Again, we're not focused on specific pitches. We'll get into that probably in the next video or so. And now we want to jump into just talking about the throat, specifically the larynx, how it works, the structures in there. Again, the video I mentioned earlier with Sam Johnson getting a scope on his throat, he does a lot of singing and he does different things with his voice to allow you to see what's actually going on. And this video, after all the years I've been singing, really made a lot of things click, and it really gave me certain things to look for and to feel in my throat as I'm singing, so I can get a better idea of what exactly I'm manipulating in here so I can control it better. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So in your neck, here in your throat area, you have two very important pipes. You have your trachea, okay, and then you have your esophagus. I'll do this, because I'll imagine esophagus is bigger. So you have your trachea, okay? In that trachea, you have your larynx. So this is like your voice box and all that stuff. So right in here. On top of this are two cords that are going to open like this. Now, I always thought these cords were thin because that's how we learn them, but they actually kind of more work together in this fashion. Something I also learned from Sam Johnson. So they work together in this fashion. But there are two of them. So what you'll see once you watch the scope, is you'll see these two membranes kind of flapping against each other like this. But you'll also see them open and close, open and close, open, close, open, close. All right, so those are the two ways that your vocal cords move. And closure, like we talked about last time, is just that they always get together. And when there's some trauma, or maybe they're just a little tired, sometimes your vocal cords don't get all the way together, and extra air will leak out, and that'll sound like you're raspy, or like you're hoarse, and like you can't really get much out. Like that. You get a little of that wheezing sound. That's usually because your voice is just damaged, maybe from a little normal use, nothing too bad, or it's just tired if you use your voice a lot, if you're a speaker or a teacher or a singer, or you have to work in a loud environment, and so you have to project a lot all day, every day. And projecting is something else we'll talk about a little bit later down the line. We just want to focus mostly on the anatomy and how things work today. So we have these vocal cords. Another thing that I learned watching Sam Johnson's video is how the epiglottis functions. Now, the epiglottis is this little flap, very important flap, that keeps you from choking, essentially, or having the wrong thing go down the wrong hole. So you have your two holes here, and when you want to breathe, the epiglottis is open here, but when you want to eat or drink, it closes, so then you don't drown or choke yourself trying to breathe in the food or liquid that you're drinking, and so it allows that to go down. Now, this is important because the epiglottis, like while it's on top, helps your sound as well. And this is the biggest thing that I learned, is that you have your trachea and you have your voice box and your larynx and all that stuff, and your epiglottis sits here. I always thought it sat flat, but it actually curves a little bit, is what you'll see, especially if you watch Sam's. And apparently it doesn't curve as much usually, according to the doctor that did his scope. His curved quite a bit, and I'm imagining that, we all get a little bit of curving, but that's the biggest thing that I took away, is that helps shape the sound that you get. But more than that, it also goes down and up as it opens and closes, depending on what you're doing with your voice. And the more closed and stretched out positions are synonymous with your higher pitches, as the more open and lower the position of the epiglottis, or the larynx actually, because the whole throat is moving, is more associated with your lower pitches. So those are associated with your lower pitches. Now, the reason why I said this was important for me is because a lot of times you have to open and close your vocal cords, and when you're trying to find those higher pitches, you're trying to manipulate something in your throat, but since we don't often see into it, we don't really know exactly what we're doing. At least that was the case for me. And what I discovered, that what I was doing was putting too much strain in my vocal cords, and that was often cutting off the sound or just making it sound really weak. But almost instantly, I promise, almost instantly after watching that video and practicing just a little bit along with it, I could start to feel the manipulation just a little bit, or at least what I felt like it was, because the vocal cord, you feel that, the vocal cords, you feel them a little bit lower in your throat, and then you feel the epiglottis a little bit higher. So I encourage you to play with that, see how it affects your singing, see how, if it improves it, or if you can even tell the difference. It can take a while to get it, but go and watch the video, try practicing it out. So let me jump back, and I want to talk about the anatomy of the throat just a little bit more. And this is going to go from top to bottom. I'll put in some pictures with this from my old linguistic notes. But basically, you have the epiglottis on top, like we talked about. Okay, so my crude throat demonstration, diorama, whatever you want to call it. So we have our two holes here, okay, and then we have the epiglottis up here that closes and opens, and now we know it also bends here, so it's probably more like this. So it opens and closes, or rounds and flattens, and then opens and closes like that. When you're swallowing, drinking, breathing, it has to be open. Okay, now the other part is that right above these vocal cords that we talked about, down here, your true vocal cords that go here, there's some extra like tissue around here. Those are false vocal cords. Now your false vocal cords, what we use those for are for growling. So if you go "arr" or "arr," like like a pirate or a bear, "arr," a monster, those are a monster. That's gonna be your false vocal cords, and those are gonna come into play when you're doing certain types like rock singing. Chad Kroeger, I've discovered, uses that a lot, and he is like, for as much flack as that band gets and as he might get, I find his particular growl or like rock voice always kind of challenging. And I still play with it sometimes, even though people might say he's a bad singer. I think it's actually pretty cool how he has been able to sustain such rough vocals using that false false chord growl for so long, and it's evaded me for a while. So you have that kind of like growly, raspy voice that kind of gets in there, and then so that's what the false vocal cords are for, at least as far as singing goes. The other thing that I want to mention is that as you sing, your vocal cords, since they are made out of flesh, as a muscle, they don't just stay one size. They thicken, and then as you go up in pitch, you're actually stretching those muscles, thinning them out. So your epiglottis is rising and thinning actually, and so are your vocal cords. So it's not just all about raising everything up and squeezing really tight, because you shouldn't have to do that for your voice to get up that high. All you have to do is just remember, let it stretch and thin and relax. So we talked about this last time, finding that low place. Okay, not going too low and dropping this, don't want to scrunch it. Yeah. Finding that low place where you feel really secure in your voice, finding that foundation, getting good breath, and then going again, going, ah. And we talked about not getting much change, so we're going to go, So again, you're just trying to stretch those cords out, and you're trying to feel what your throat is doing and not just like think of a pitch and then jump for it, because it's really not that far away. It's just a little bit, okay? Just a little bit far away. It's just a little far away. It's close is what I'm saying. It's not too far away. So that is pretty much what I wanted to talk about today as far as the voice goes. We did a little breath work, a little bit of voice work, but I wanted to talk about more of the anatomy and like kind of how things work kind of mechanically. For me, that helps a lot when it comes to the body, is learning how like the muscles pull like levers and like where things are positioned and how they work. That really helps me internalize a lot of things that I'm learning, that I'm doing. And so I hope that helped you. So again, if it did, please share this video, like and subscribe, and remember, follow me on any of the social medias that you see in the video, and we'll see you next time. Open, close. Open, close.